Today's story begins with one of the most powerful symbols of American military might, the USS Abraham Lincoln, a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier homeported in San Diego and now operating in waters near the Middle East amid the sharpest military tensions between the United States and Iran in years. This is not just another routine deployment, it's part of an unprecedented buildup of American naval and air forces in the region as tensions between the two nations have escalated into open military operations, with both sides trading strikes, rhetoric, and accusations that could reshape geopolitical stability in the Middle East. Let's break it down. The USS Abraham Lincoln and its associated strike group were redirected from their Indo-Pacific deployment into the U.S. Central Command area of operations as the situation with Iran deteriorated. Aircraft carriers like the Lincoln are not just big ships. They are mobile power projection platforms, essentially floating air bases that carry dozens of fighter jets, helicopters, and support squadrons. An aircraft carrier strike group also includes guided missile destroyers and cruisers to defend it. Experts say its presence signals the U.S. is preparing for contingencies ranging from deterrence to direct involvement in combat operations. That projection of force takes on amplified meaning when operating in a region as volatile and strategically sensitive as the Persian Gulf and Arabian Sea, where Iran and its proxies wield influence and weaponry. So why has the U.S. Navy moved one of its most formidable assets into this dangerous arena? In late February 2026, the United States and Israel launched a series of coordinated airstrikes against targets inside Iran, a dramatic move that included attacks on high-value military infrastructure. These operations were part of what U.S. military officials described as Operation Epic Fury, which, according to some reports, involved thousands of strikes using a wide array of weapons systems. Iran responded with its own barrage of missiles and unmanned aerial vehicles (UAVs) targeting American bases and allied facilities across the broader Gulf region. Some Iranian statements even asserted that they had targeted or struck the USS Abraham Lincoln with ballistic missiles, but here's where the information gets complicated. Multiple fact-checking organizations and official U.S. military statements have firmly denied that the aircraft carrier was hit. According to U.S. Central Command, the Lincoln was not struck, and any missiles launched by Iranian forces did not come close to the carrier. Videos circulating online claiming the carrier was destroyed were analyzed and found to be AI-generated or unrelated footage from other sources, not evidence of real damage. Despite the denials, the very fact that such claims spread so widely online shows how high public anxiety has climbed over this confrontation. Social media users across the world reposted dramatic footage and headlines alleging the sinking of a U.S. carrier, yet those clips were shown to be fabricated using CGI or taken from unrelated events, including video game simulations. The Lincoln's role, rather than being a casualty, is now one of the central deterrent and strategic assets in the widening conflict. Navy personnel continue flying sorties from its deck, and the ship remains operational, serving as a command node for maritime and air capabilities across the region. That doesn't mean there aren't real dangers. In the broader conflict, both sides have sustained losses. U.S. officials confirmed the deaths of several American service members due to Iranian drone strikes, and Iran has reported civilian casualties from air attacks. The U.S. has also taken steps to mitigate civilian risk and protect its diplomatic presence. Non-essential diplomatic staff and families have been ordered to leave multiple Middle Eastern countries, including Bahrain, Iraq, Jordan, and others. Several embassies have temporarily shut down operations due to security threats. As the military situation unfolds, there are economic and geopolitical ripple effects. Oil markets spiked on fears that the Strait of Hormuz, a choke point through which a large share of global petroleum exports travel, could be disrupted by military action or Iranian retaliation. For average viewers around the world watching these developments from a distance, you might be wondering, how did we get here? The roots of this sharp escalation trace back to deeper strategic conflicts between Iran and the U.S., including disputes over Iran's nuclear program, its support for armed proxies throughout the Middle East, and long-standing regional rivalries. When both nations perceive threats to their national security, such tensions have a tendency to spiral. In this latest chapter, mutual distrust, failed diplomacy, and military posturing have brought both powers into direct confrontation in Washington, Political leaders have emphasized that the U.S. military's buildup is meant to protect American interests, allies, and global freedom of navigation in international waters, including the Strait of Hormuz. Tehran, on the other hand, has vowed to defend itself and its allies, and has warned that any attack on Iranian territory would be met with what it describes as all-out resistance. Put another way, both sides now see this as a potential existential moment, not just a minor skirmish. And while some commentators hoped diplomacy might avert full-blown conflict, recent negotiations ended without breakthroughs that could lower the temperature. This leaves us watching a very historic, and very dangerous, standoff. Aircraft carriers like USS Abraham Lincoln aren't just steel and jets, they are symbols of national resolve. When you see news about these massive warships moving into contested waters, it reflects decisions made at the highest levels of government, decisions that balance deterrence against the risks of armed confrontation. But it also highlights something fundamental about modern conflict. The fog of war isn't just in battlefields, it's also in information. Viral videos, misleading posts, and dramatic claims can shape public perception just as powerfully as real events, sometimes faster than the truth can be confirmed. So as you process headlines, tweets, and clips about carriers and missiles and escalating tensions, remember to check what's been verified and what remains unconfirmed or debunked. In rapidly evolving situations like this, rumors and misinformation flourish, and discerning fact from fiction becomes an essential part of understanding the real story. In the coming days and weeks, world leaders and media outlets will be tracking every movement of forces in the Gulf, statements out of Tehran and Washington, and developments from allied nations whose interests are also at stake. The battle lines of public opinion, as well as geopolitical strategy, are being drawn in real time. And through it all, the USS Abraham Lincoln remains much more than metal and machinery. It stands as a living symbol of the tensions between world powers, a projection of military might, and a reminder of how fragile peace can be when diplomacy gives way to force.